This is a review of a pre-algebra departmental final exam. In particular, we're going to look at the problems that were missed by more than 40% of the students. As we look at the exam, we notice that 36% missed. 36% of the students missed this problem right here. It's a fairly easy problem, but be aware that a lot of people have trouble with this order of operations problem. Word problems, I find many students just guess on them, but let's look at this. Alex has saved $560, wants to accumulate $750. What percent of his goal has been reached? Percents come rather late in the semester, and perhaps that's part of the problem, but let's look at that. He's saved $560. The total was 1750. As we know, we can commute and associate those tens. So we're looking at 175 divided into 56. This is decimal division, a little bit of a problem for some people. And we see that 5 give us a 7, 4 is going to give us a 6, so looks like we're looking at, he's only about a third of the way there. So multiplying 15, carry the 1, 22, a 5, and now we have 5 and 35 left, and when we bring down our 0, we see that that's actually twice. But now that we have this decimal 0.32, we have to move the decimal twice, twice, and get 32%. Looking at the available answers, we see that it's all a matter of referencing, that it's about a third, and D ended up being a often chose problem, so that was just a matter of moving the decimal. The correct answer being A. Our second page, we look and we see that the coordinates, almost no one missed that. The division was pretty straightforward. The estimation, very good. The simple interest problem, 43% of the people missed this problem. So when we look at that simple interest, we see that $900 at 5% annual rate. So for 5 years, and this is an odd problem because it's simple interest and most people don't relate to this anymore. But the key is finding, how large the differences are. Is it $36 or $900? So we have to take that 5%, which again, with 2 decimals, once, twice, 0.05. So 5% being 500ths, or the decimal. So if you have 500ths times 900, why again, commuting and associating those tens, we see that it's just 5 times 9, or 45. Then for 5 years, $225. So the answer was C. The next problem involves fractions, solving with fractions. And when we look at that, we see that we can either use the giant parens or what we call step number 1, clear fractions. And let's go ahead and do that. So we have 8/15 of x equals minus 4/7. So 3 and a 5, 7's prime. So we have a 3, a 5, and a 7. So 35 times 7. We need all those numbers, but when we're looking we want to look and see, covering up the 15, we see 56 56x equals, and covering up the 7s, 15 times minus 4 is minus 60. So that when we divide by the 56, why, we can just keep reducing if we want. 30 minus 30 over 28, that's still even, so that's minus 15 over 14. And we look at our answers and see that it happens to be answer B. So we don't have to change that to a decimal or anything like that. In regards to this problem, let's not forget that we're solving for x. So if we were to multiply by 15 over 8, why, 15 over 8 would make 1 here, so that would be minus 4 over 7 times 15 over 8, but the 4 and the 8 reduce, and notice that you get minus 15 fourteenths relatively easily. So if you're comfortable with multiplying by the reciprocal, that's a nice thing to do on that problem. And 25%. Our next problem is this diagram below. It's a triangle, right? Find the unknown. 54% of the students missed this problem. And I know some of you are looking out there and going, my goodness, how could they miss it? It's a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. And the answer is 5, end of subject, the answer is C. Okay, well, maybe that's not going to work for us because obviously it didn't work for this particular class. So it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and a being 3 or b being 4, that's 9 plus 16, that's 25. C squared equals 25. When we square root both sides and take the positive, we see it's 5. Next problem, again fractions. And you may be getting used to this a little bit, how many times it's fractions, but looking at this, a lot of people miss this. 57% of the class missed this problem. It's not because it's a perfect square, it's because they just don't like fractions. So let's remember that we're going to FOIL. So the first is t squared, the outer is 8/3 t, the inner is 8/3 t, and of course the last is 64/9. Now remember that 8 plus 8 over 3, 8 plus 8 over 3 is 16/3 t. And we look for that answer, and there it is, answer D. We didn't have to do anything other than just FOIL. Now this next problem definitely has to have some instructors upset. So let's look at it. What could possibly be the problem here? Well, notice that 2 of the answers are positive and 2 are negative. So part of the problem is people have difficulty determining if a negative 2 raised to an even power is positive or negative. So that's the biggest decision, is it positive or negative? And of course, a negative to an even power is positive. They're not giving you any option. 2 to the 4th is 16, negative 16. The only question is, when you go up and out, are you multiplying or are you adding? And of course, when you go up and out, when you raise to a power, you are multiplying. And so that is negative 16 x to the 12th. Okay, here we come to the most missed problem on the test. 79% of the students miss this. Okay, so where do we start? Not optional. We have to do the exponent and parens. 4/9, 2 times 2, 3 times 3. Plus, now we have an improper fraction situation where the mixed number, 4 times 5, 21 over 4, and that's divided by 4/5 So divide by 5/4 needs to be flipped, so it's 4/5. Commuting and associating, we see that we have 4/9 plus 21/5. Again, 21/5 is a improper, so we're going to change that to 21 would be 4 1/5. So 4 plus 1/5 plus 4/9. 9 is not prime, so when we do our LCM procedure and factor, we find that 1, 3, and 1, 5 are representatives, but of course we need the full 9 for the lowest common multiple. And so we see that when the 5s are making 1, we have 9, and when the 3s are making 1, we have plus 20. So we have our answer is 4 29/30. 4 29/30. Be very interested to see if that makes a big difference on the next exam. On this page we have only expression in simplest form that represents 41% missed. The area. Okay, so area of a parallelogram, right? This side and that side is the same as the rectangle, so it's base times width, so it's n times n plus 14, or n squared plus 14n. Now we have our typical word problem where we have 57% of the students miss this. This is actually a fairly hard problem for most people. The appliance store where Scott family shops, 7% discount for cash. 77% discount. What was their total bill before the cash? Round to the nearest dollar. What X is their total bill? The discount was said to be 7%. 7% is 7 hundredths. 7 hundredths of X is $47. Again, isolating it into 47, moving our decimal twice, and this is where a lot of people who are not familiar with decimals have to remember that that decimal started after the 47, and of course that's 6 and 7, and it says to round, but we can't round yet, so that's a 7. Our next number is going to be a 4. So we need to be careful, but no, we don't need to be careful. Look at these answers. My goodness, there's nothing close. There's only our 671. On the bottom of on this page, we come again to our fractions. Now, we have so much trouble with these fractions, but again, what we want to do is not use fractions. We want to clear them using the big parens. So when I multiply by my LCM using the big parens, my LCM, since they're both prime, is that. And when I cover my 5s, I see I got 7 times 1, so r plus 6 equals 5 times 1, r plus 8, and of course that's 7r plus 42, 5r plus 40, more on the left side, more r's. So remembering to move the 5r, and then of course the number to the right, since the r came to the left, gives us the fact that 2r is negative 2, and so r is negative 1, and that's answer A. Another 50% miss. Factor. Factor being the opposite of the LCM. What are we looking at? 32 has 5 2's. 28 has 2 2's and a 7. 36 has 2 2's and a 9. What's common? 2 2's. So we have 2 2's common. So common is 2 2's. And then 2 m's, 6 m's, and 9 m's, only 2 m's. So if I take 2 2's out of this number, 32, I have 3 2's left, or 8. If I take 2 m's from the 9, I have 7 left. If I take 2 2's out of the 28, I have 7. If I take 2 2's from the m, I have 4 left. And if I take 2 2's out of my 36, I have just the 9. And I have factored problem 36. Next problem. Again, we have a situation where we're looking at something, evaluate. We're supposed to put these numbers in, noting that only a 4 is negative, so it's negative 4 being squared. The bottom, when I look, I see that z is 3. 2 times 3 plus y is 2. 2 times 3 plus 2, that's 6 plus 2, that's 8. Minus 4 is positive 16 over 8. My answer is 2. 44% of the people miss that. And again, a very large number of people chose negative 2, not being aware that negative 4 squared is positive 16. Again, on this page, we see that 30 decreased by the product of 3 and y. 30 decreased. And that's not subtracted from, and that's not less than. That's 30 decreased by the product of 3 and y. So 30 decreased by 3y is twice the difference of y and 35. So twice the difference of y and 35. Oh well. 54. Now this is quite interesting to me. They have 0.875. That's 8. That's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So that's 875 thousandths. Look at the numerators and all the answers. 7. It's not even giving you an option. So all we have to do is divide by 7. If we divide by 7, we get 125. The only number that can give us a 7 out of that is if I divide by 125. That's going to give me a 7. All the numerators are 7. So what's the bottom? Well, when I divide by 125, it's not 7 because 125 more is 8. 7/8. 54% of the students miss that. And a bunch of good problems, at least easy problems, and just remember there are easy problems on these exams. I know this is getting long. I'm going to finish here momentarily. We have another fraction problem. 43% of the students missed. So again, it's fractions. This is improper. Needs to be improper, improper. 5 times 2 plus 3, 13 over 5. 7 over 2. Nothing in common. 321 plus 7, 91 tenths. Write as a mixed number. Mixed number, that's 9 and 1/10. GCF, okay. That's one of my favorite things, and we can see that the area, the next one, 63% missed. But let's do our GCF first, okay? And I'm going to remind you of the hierarchical way of doing it. So you go up, it's even. 180, half of 3, half of, okay? It's even. 90, it's even. 45, it has a 5. 5 and 9, 9 is 3 and 3. Let's try and finish that right. And 3. Okay. Now what are we? 216. Hierarchical. It's even. 108. It's even. 54. It's even. 27. It adds up to 3. 9. 3 and 3. So we have 3 2s and 3 3s. We have 3 2s and 2 3s. Common is 3 2s and 2 3s. 3 2s is 8. 2 3s is 9. I'm looking for 72. Now find the area. It's a triangle. They give us the height, and they give us this, and it's 1/2. Now it depends on what you like better, but most of us don't want to take half of 11.7. So it's commutative. 1/2 of 7 times 11.7. Half of 7 is 3.5 or 3.5. So 3.5 times 11.7 is going to give us the area. And when we multiply, and multiplying by the 3, 21, carrying the 2, we see that we have 1, 2 places held, and the answer B. Centimeters squared. No other options are there. This is one of my favorite ones to bother people about. Pre-algebra students, identify the degree. Yeah, the degree is 7. It's that easy. Degree is 7. Answer D. The degree of a polynomial. Don't forget that. Don't be one of the 37% of the people who miss the easiest problem on the test. Calculate the ratio as a unit ratio and interpret the result. Round the unit ratio to 2 decimal places. So they have debt to income ratio. Okay, so unit ratio, they're kind of telling us, is to $1 because it's in all the answers, but a debt of $475 to a gross income of 30. So $4,750 to 30350. Again, commuting the tens, and then I like to look at the fact that there's 5s in both of those. So dividing by 5, we have 9, 5, 45, and 20, 95, and 5, well, 5 into 30 is 6, and it doesn't go into 3, but it goes into 35, 7. Okay, so we have to divide 607 into 95 to get a unit ratio. 607 into 95. Make sure you place that decimal. So now we'll have a unit, so it's going to be partial. So we got 1,607. Looking at our answers, decimal 16, decimal 19. We have to decide if that next number is which way it is. So doing the next one has to be done. So because of the choices, That's a 4 and a 3, 3, 4. And the next number, 9 times 54, no. So 6 is too big as well. So it's going to be a 5. 35 and 30 leaves us with 5, 3 from that, 9, 395, 0. Our next number, 3950, is going to be a 6, which is going to give us 4, 3, 6. Okay, 6. And I think they said 2 decimal. They do 2 decimal. So this is 0.1621. And that's the right answer for that. Finally our last page. And if you stayed with me this long, you know it's too long. So, too many people miss too many problems is what it is, eh? Why do 50% of the students miss this? How can they miss this problem? It would appear from the choices that 16xy is the LCM, because that's all the choices. So if it's 16xy, and 3y over 8x, if it's this, then 8x needs 2y over 2y. And I would go through the LCM, but that means it's 7 and 6y squared. 7 and 6y squared b. But yeah, see, they don't even let you reduce that y. So anyway, solve. Is it a fraction? Yes. Are we supposed to clear fractions? Yes. 1/2 equals x over 9. If I multiply this whole thing by the LCM, I'm going to find that I got 9 equals 2x, and when I divide, I have 4.5. X equals 4.5, or 9/2. But when I look at this problem also, I could say, hey, wait a minute, I just want x. So again, multiplying by the reciprocal of 1/9, 9/1, notice I get 9/2 immediately equals 1x. Now, if you didn't follow that, the LCM always works. Very last problem, 39%, so we might as well deal with it. 39%. I would suspect a lot of students were just tired. Minus a -6 is -16 plus 6, which equals -10. Notice that half the answers are positive and half are negative. Well, as Professor Jessup, I sure hope that helped, and have a great day.